I never thought my life could change so fast, in the blink of an eye. One evening, sitting on the couch with my laptop, I stared at the clock and realized it was 11:37 p.m. I had been waiting for her to come home for over an hour. Again, my wife Lisa had said she was working late. Just another day at the office, she claimed. But tonight, something felt off. It wasn't just that she was late. It was the way she avoided my calls, the way her texts became shorter and colder. She used to text me funny things or little emojis, but now it was just busy. Home late. Don't wait up. That phrase, so casual and careless, had begun to gnaw at me. I tried to push it out of my mind. Maybe it was just work stress. She had been ambitious, climbing the corporate ladder, and I had always admired that about her. But a tiny voice inside me refused to stay quiet. I had a gut feeling that tonight, everything might change. When she finally arrived at 12:15 a.m., I could tell immediately something was wrong. She opened the door, her eyes darting away, avoiding mine. The perfume she wore smelled different. I couldn't place it, but it wasn't her usual scent. "Hey," I said, trying to sound casual, though my heart was pounding. "Hey," she replied, too quickly, too softly. I watched her as she dropped her bag on the floor and went straight to the bedroom. No kiss. No smile. No, "I missed you." That was strange, because we never went to bed angry. And even after long days, we always found a moment to connect. I followed her into the bedroom. "Lisa, are you okay?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. She shook her head and smiled weakly. "Yeah, just tired. Long day." But the way she said it, I felt a crack in the truth. That night, I didn't sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, replaying every detail of her sudden change. Every word, every action, every tiny lie she had told about working late nights. Something in me refused to ignore it. The next day, I pretended everything was normal. I went to work, and Lisa told me she would have another late night. That evening, I stayed home, trying to distract myself with TV, but my mind kept circling back. I decided to check something, a little research, just to ease my worry. I remembered she had mentioned a project, an important client presentation. She said she would be at the office until late. So I thought, maybe I could just see for myself. I didn't want to invade her privacy, but I needed to know. My heart wasn't ready for what I would find. I drove past her office around 9 p.m., and my stomach sank. The lights were off. The office was empty. Empty? That didn't make sense. She had insisted she would be there until at least 10:30. I felt my chest tighten. Then, a car pulled out of the parking lot. A car I didn't recognize at first, but when I squinted, I saw her inside. And she wasn't alone. A man, someone I had never seen, was sitting beside her, laughing. Laughing. That's when a cold wave hit me. That feeling in the pit of my stomach that I had tried to ignore. It screamed at me. I followed them, my hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly I thought they might break. The car turned into a small, cozy apartment complex on the other side of town. My mind raced. Could I be wrong? Maybe it was just a friend. But something told me, deep down, that this wasn't innocent. I parked a few streets away and watched. Lisa got out of the car, laughing, and went inside the building with him. I stayed in my car, shaking, my head spinning with thoughts I didn't want to have. My mind screamed, no. She can't be. Not like this. I drove home, my hands trembling on the wheel, trying to convince myself that maybe I had just misinterpreted things. Maybe she really was just seeing a friend. But when I walked in the house, the silence hit me harder than any words ever could. She was sitting on the couch, pretending to read a book, like nothing had happened. "Hey," I said, my voice cracking. "Where were you tonight?" "Just late meeting," she replied, without looking up. I felt my chest tighten, my hands start to shake. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to demand the truth, but I didn't. I sat down beside her, trying to mask my fear, my anger, my heartbreak. "Lisa, I saw you tonight," I said quietly, my voice barely audible. She froze. The book slipped from her hands. Her eyes widened, and for the first time in months, I saw fear in her eyes. "What? What do you mean?" she stammered. "I saw you with him at that apartment." Her face turned pale. She opened her mouth, then closed it, then opened it again. It's not what you think," she said, but I didn't believe her. Not anymore. That night, we didn't sleep. She didn't say much, and I didn't either. I lay there, pretending to be asleep while my mind raced, replaying every lie she had told about working late nights. I couldn't stop thinking about that man, about the laughter I had seen, about the betrayal that seemed so real. The next few days were unbearable. Every "I'm working late" text, every excuse, every delay, it all felt like a dagger twisting in my chest. I tried to confront her calmly, asking simple questions, but she deflected every single one. She smiled, reassured me, promised it was just stress at work, but I couldn't stop the doubts, the fear, the anger building inside me. One night, I decided I couldn't wait anymore. I had to know the truth. I couldn't live with this uncertainty. I started checking her phone when she was in the shower, scrolling through messages, trying to find a hint of the truth. But she was careful, locked phone, no notifications, nothing. Then, I remembered something she had carelessly mentioned last week. A friend of hers had invited her to a girls' night, she said, at an upscale bar downtown. That bar didn't exist, at least not under that name. I checked online. No such place. My heart sank further. The more I dug, the more lies I uncovered. Each one was a blade cutting deeper into my trust. I remembered the small details. The perfume that wasn't hers, the way she avoided my eyes, the sudden interest in going out with friends without me. It all started making sense. But I wasn't ready for the full storm. Not yet. I confronted her again, but this time with a quiet intensity that made her flinch. "Lisa, I know something is going on. I don't know everything, but I know you're lying." "Why?" Her silence was deafening. I could see the guilt in her eyes, the fear, but also something else. Something I couldn't name. That night, I went to bed alone. She stayed in the living room. And as I lay there, staring at the ceiling, I realized that nothing would ever be the same again. I had a sinking feeling that the truth I was about to uncover would hit me harder than I could imagine. And somehow, I knew that the storm was just beginning. Because sometimes, the person you love the most is capable of breaking you in ways you never saw coming. And tomorrow, I was going to find out everything. I woke up to a message from her at 7 a.m., just 2 words. 2 words that made my heart stop. "We need to talk." I stared at my phone for what felt like hours, unable to respond. "We need to talk." 2 words, so innocent, yet heavy enough to crush me. My stomach twisted, my chest tightened, and my mind raced with all the worst possibilities. Was this the moment she would finally confess? Or would she spin another web of lies, leaving me even more lost and betrayed? By the time I got home from work, Lisa was already there, sitting at the kitchen table with a cup of coffee, her hands nervously clasped together. The usual warmth in her eyes was replaced with tension. She looked different. Something had shifted overnight. "Sit," she said quietly, gesturing to the chair across from her. I sat, keeping my distance. There was a heavy silence between us, one that I could almost touch. I didn't want to speak first. I wanted her to spill the truth, to tear away the veil she had carefully built around her. Finally, she spoke. "I know you've noticed things." I clenched my fists. "Things." "Lisa, I saw you. I followed you. I know about him." Her eyes widened, panic flashing across her face. How could you?" she whispered. "I told you I had to know," I said, my voice shaking. "All those late nights, the texts, the so-called girls' nights. It was all lies, wasn't it?" She looked down, ashamed. I didn't mean for it to go this far." "Not mean for it to go this far?" I repeated, disbelief lacing my words. "Do you have any idea what you've done? Do you understand what this feels like?" Tears welled up in her eyes. I was lonely," she admitted, her voice barely audible. "I felt invisible. You were always busy with work, and I made a mistake." Her words hit me like a punch. A mistake? That's what this was to her, a mistake. Not years of lies, not secret meetings, not the betrayal of trust, just a mistake. I tried to keep my anger in check, tried to listen, but the pain was too raw, too deep. "Do you even know what you've done to me?" "To us?" She shook her head. I know I've hurt you. I don't expect you to forgive me. Not now, maybe not ever. But I couldn't stop myself. I didn't know how to deal with the loneliness. Loneliness. That word echoed in my mind. I had been here. I had tried. I had reached out. But she had pushed me away without me even realizing it. And now, here we were, our marriage hanging by a thread. "I need to know everything," I said, finally, my voice cold, almost shaking with rage. "Who is he? How long has this been going on?" She hesitated, swallowing hard. "His name is Mark. And it started about 3 months ago." 3 months. 3 months of lies, of stolen nights, of pretending everything was fine while her heart and body was somewhere else. I felt bell rise in my throat. 3 months, I asked, my voice barely controlled. And all this time, I thought we were working on our marriage. I thought we were happy. We were. I mean, we are. But I messed everything up, she whispered, tears streaming down her face. I couldn't take it anymore. I stood up, pacing the kitchen, trying to burn away the storm raging inside me. Do you even realize how easy it was for you to destroy everything? How easily you could replace what we had with him? Her face crumpled. I never wanted to hurt you. I swear I didn't. It just happened. I didn't plan it. I didn't think. I stopped pacing, my back to her, my head in my hands. I couldn't believe I was hearing this. Couldn't believe I had trusted her, loved her, and now felt like a fool. My heart was in pieces, scattered across the floor. I can't even look at you right now, I said finally, my voice trembling. I don't even know if I want to see you ever again. She reached out, but I stepped back instinctively. Please don't touch me, I said. Not yet. I need space. For the rest of the evening, we sat in silence. The house felt empty, colder than ever before. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat, couldn't even think clearly. Every little memory, her laughter, her touch, our shared dreams, suddenly felt like lies. Like she had been acting, pretending to be someone she wasn't. The next day, I decided I needed answers. I needed proof. I couldn't just rely on her words anymore. Because if there was one thing I had learned in the last week, it was that words could be twisted, manipulated, and bent into lies. I started investigating. Carefully, quietly. I checked her social media, her messages, her emails. And what I found made my stomach turn. Photos she had posted, comments she had liked, messages she had deleted. Everything pointed to the same thing. She had been seeing him regularly, lying about work, lying about friends, lying about everything. The worst part, it wasn't just a fling. She was deeply involved. Late night dinners, weekend getaways, hidden from me, from everyone. Every smile, every laugh she had shared with me over the last few months now seemed like an act, a mask she wore while she lived a double life. I confronted her again, this time with evidence. I laid it all out on the table, texts, pictures, receipts. Her face went pale, and she didn't say a word. I could see her mind racing, searching for an excuse, a way to salvage what was left. I can explain, she said finally, her voice shaking. Explain? I laughed bitterly. You want to explain 3 months of lies, of betrayal, of destroying our marriage? I was lonely, she shouted, her voice breaking. I felt abandoned, ignored. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Lonely? I echoed, my voice cold and cutting. So instead of talking to me, you went behind my back. You lied, cheated, and betrayed me. That's your solution? She didn't answer. Tears streamed down her face, her body trembling. I didn't know whether to feel anger, sorrow, or disbelief. All three hit me at once, like a wave I couldn't escape. I left the room, needing air, needing space. I walked out into the backyard, the cold night air hitting my face, trying to calm my racing thoughts. I needed a plan, a way to deal with this. I couldn't let her lie. I couldn't let her betrayal slide. Not now. And that's when it hit me, the thought I had been trying to suppress, the one I hadn't allowed myself to consider until now. Maybe it's time to fight back. Not with violence, not with anger, but with the truth, with exposing her, making her face the consequences of every lie, every betrayal, every night she had spent with him instead of me. I didn't know how, or when, or what would happen next. But one thing was certain. My life had changed forever, and nothing would ever feel safe again. Not her, not our home, not the life we had built together. The night stretched on, and I sat there alone, staring at the stars, feeling the weight of betrayal pressing down on me. And deep inside, a storm was brewing, a storm fueled by heartbreak, anger, and the need for justice. Because some truths, once discovered, cannot be ignored. And tomorrow, I was going to confront her again. This time, I wasn't holding back. When I walked into the living room the next morning, I saw her phone light up on the table, and there it was, a new message from him. Can't wait to see you tonight. The message glowed on her phone like a neon sign. Can't wait to see you tonight. I froze, my hand hovering over the table, my heart hammering so loud I was sure she could hear it. Every nerve in my body screamed, this is it. This is proof. For months, I had suspected, had doubted, had followed every trail she left behind. And now, finally, the evidence was right there in front of me. The truth was undeniable, cruel, and devastating. I didn't touch the phone immediately. I didn't need to. Seeing those words made my stomach twist and my mind race. She had lied about working late nights for months, lied about deadlines, lied about meetings, lied about girls' nights that didn't exist. And all the while, she had been sneaking around, meeting him, laughing with him, betraying every vow we had made. I felt like my chest had been ripped open, like the air itself had been stolen from my lungs. How could she do this? How could the woman I loved, the woman I trusted with my life, turn our marriage into a secret affair? And yet, I couldn't let anger take over. Not fully. Not yet. I needed to know everything. I needed to confront her, not just with my suspicions, but with the undeniable truth. I waited until she was in the kitchen, making coffee like nothing had happened. Her movements were casual, almost innocent. Almost. Lisa, I said quietly, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. She turned, startled. Yes. I gestured to her phone. Who is he? Her face froze, and her hand trembled. She set the coffee down, her eyes wide. I told you. His name is Mark. Yes, Mark. I said, my voice cold sharp. And you planned to meet him tonight, didn't you? You didn't tell me because you knew I would find out. Again, her lips quivered. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. Scared? Scared of what? I demanded, my voice rising. Scared of being caught, or scared of facing the truth? She shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. Both. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want to lose you. I wanted someone to care, someone to notice me. Someone to notice you? I echoed, disbelief cutting through every word. I was here. I was always here. But you chose him over me. Over us. Her shoulders slumped, and she looked away. I know. I know I messed up everything. I didn't mean to, but I couldn't stop myself. I felt like I was drowning in pain, betrayal, and disbelief. Every lie, every late night, every whispered excuse, it all came crashing down like a tidal wave. And yet, amidst the heartbreak, a dark thought began to form in my mind. Maybe it was time to stop being the victim. Maybe it was time to fight back. I needed to see the full extent of her betrayal. I needed to know how far she had gone, what she had done behind my back. So I followed her that night. Quietly, carefully. She didn't suspect a thing. She kissed me goodbye with a fake smile, said she had a late meeting, and walked out the door. But I knew better. I had learned her patterns, her lies, her routines. And tonight, I wasn't going to be fooled. I parked a block away from the apartment she had been sneaking into for weeks. My heart pounded as I watched her go inside with him. I could hear the faint sound of laughter through the window. That sound, her laughter, was like a dagger twisting in my chest. I watched for what felt like hours, every moment burning a hole in my soul. And then, the unimaginable happened. She leaned in, kissed him. Fully, completely. Not a fleeting kiss, not a momentary touch, but a kiss that belonged to another life. A life where I didn't exist. I felt my hands clench into fists, my jaw tightening. Rage and heartbreak collided inside me, creating a storm I couldn't control. I wanted to scream, to storm inside and tear them apart. But instead, I sat there silent, burning with fury, knowing that I now had the truth I needed. When they finally separated, she lingered a moment, touching his cheek, smiling. That smile was mine once. And seeing it on him, reserved for him, shattered me in ways I didn't know were possible. I drove home in a daze, my mind a whirlwind of pain, anger, and disbelief. How could she do this? How could I have been so blind, so trusting, so naive? And yet, somewhere deep inside, a spark of determination ignited. If she could lie, cheat, and betray so effortlessly, then maybe it was time she faced the consequences. The next morning, I confronted her again. This time, I didn't yell, didn't cry, didn't plead. I simply held her phone in front of her, showing the message that had confirmed everything. She froze, her eyes wide with panic. I can explain, she whispered. But I had heard enough explanations to last a lifetime. Explain? I repeated, my voice low and dangerous. You lied, cheated, and betrayed me for months. 3 months. And you think you can just explain it away? She looked down, shame written all over her face. I was lonely. I didn't know what else to do. Lonely? I echoed, disbelief cutting through my words. So instead of talking to me, instead of being honest, you chose him. You chose deception. You chose betrayal. Her tears fell freely now, her body shaking. I didn't mean to hurt you. I love you. I really do. But I messed up. I made a terrible mistake. Mistake. I laughed bitterly. You think this is a mistake? This is a betrayal. This is a destruction of everything we built together. I left the room, my heart pounding, my mind racing. I needed air, space, clarity. I needed to think about what to do next. I couldn't stay in this house, in this marriage, with her lies hanging over me like a storm cloud. And then, a thought struck me, a dangerous, dark, and undeniable thought. If she could betray me so completely, then maybe it was time I took control of the situation. Not out of revenge, or maybe partly out of revenge, but because she needed to understand the weight of her actions. I started planning. Carefully. Quietly. I couldn't let my emotions cloud my judgment. I needed evidence, proof, and a strategy. I needed her to face the reality of what she had done. Because some betrayals aren't just about heartbreak. They're about justice. And I was ready to deliver it. That night, as she returned home, laughing and pretending nothing had happened, I waited in the dark and whispered to myself, "It's time you face the storm you created." That night, I didn't wait for her to speak. I didn't let her excuses or lies have another moment to breathe. I had spent weeks, months even, living with suspicion, betrayal, and heartbreak. But now it was time for action. The storm inside me was ready to break, and I was going to make her see the destruction she had caused. Lisa came home, smiling faintly, trying to act normal. Her laughter, her casual tone, her perfume, everything was an act. I watched her closely, noting every fake smile, every forced gesture. Every detail was another thread in the web she had spun. "Long day?" I asked, keeping my voice calm, neutral, as if nothing had happened. "Yes, very," she replied, sinking into the couch. She glanced at me quickly, almost nervously, before picking up her phone. I stayed silent. I let her think I was the oblivious one, the forgiving one. But inside, every heartbeat was a drum of anger and planning. Finally, I spoke. "You know, I've been thinking a lot about honesty, about trust, about what it really means to be married." Her hands trembled slightly. I know I've made mistakes," she said, her voice small. I Just what?" I interrupted, my tone sharp but controlled. "You just decided it was okay to lie to me? To cheat? To destroy our marriage while pretending everything was fine?" Tears welled up in her eyes. "I didn't mean to." I held up my hand. "Stop. Just stop." I took a deep breath, forcing myself to stay calm. "I know everything. Every lie. Every secret meeting. Every kiss you thought I wouldn't notice." Her face paled. She didn't speak. The silence was heavy, suffocating. I could see the guilt eating her alive. But I wasn't done. "Not yet. I want to know why," I said quietly, my voice steady but low, dangerous. "I want to hear it from you. Why him? Why now? Why all of this?" She swallowed hard. I felt invisible, alone. "You were always working, always busy." I tried to reach out, to talk, but I felt like you didn't care. And then he noticed me. He listened. He made me feel wanted. Wanted? I echoed, disbelief cutting through my words. "I was here. I've always been here. And you throw it all away for someone else's attention?" She shook her head, crying now. "I didn't plan it. I didn't know it would go this far. I just wanted to feel something, anything. I wanted to believe her. I wanted to forgive her. But the image of them together, the laughter, the secret kisses, the lies, it all screamed betrayal louder than her tears ever could." I took a deep breath and reached for the envelope I had hidden in my drawer. Inside were months of evidence, messages, photos, receipts, timestamps, every piece of proof she had left behind, intentionally or not. I placed it on the table in front of her. Everything. Every detail. Every lie. Every time you thought I wouldn't notice. Her eyes widened as she looked at the stack of evidence. How did you?" I followed. I observed. I waited. "And now, it's time you face it," I said, my voice steady, commanding. "No more excuses. No more lies. This is reality. Your reality." She looked down, shaking. I don't know what to say." "You don't need to say anything," I said. "You just need to understand what you've done. And you're going to face the consequences." For the first time in months, I felt a sense of control. The fear, the heartbreak, the anger, they were all still there. But now they were focused, sharpened into determination. I wasn't the victim anymore. I was the one setting the terms. "I want you to leave," I said finally. "Leave tonight. Pack your things. Take whatever you want, but you're gone. And don't come back until you're ready to face what you've done." She shook her head violently. "No." Please, we can fix this. I can fix this. I love you. You can't fix this, I said, my voice cold. Not with words, not with tears, not with fake promises. You broke trust. You broke us. And now you have to face it. She fell to her knees, pleading. I didn't mean to hurt you. I swear I didn't. I stood there, watching her. I felt nothing but the bitter taste of betrayal. You should have thought about that before you lied, before you cheated, before you destroyed everything we had. The hours stretched on. She sat on the floor, crying, begging, promising. I watched silently, feeling a storm of emotions churn inside me: rage, heartbreak, sorrow, but also a dark satisfaction. She was finally seeing, finally feeling, the weight of what she had done. And then I heard my phone buzz. A new message. From him. Mark. Did she tell you she loves me? I felt a surge of anger unlike anything I had ever experienced. The audacity. The audacity to taunt me, to rub salt in the wound while I was standing there, dealing with her betrayal. I knew in that moment that I couldn't let this continue. I had to make a choice. Do I confront him, expose him, or use this to finally sever the lies completely? Lisa looked up at me, her face pale and desperate. Please don't do anything stupid, she whispered. Stupid? I echoed, my mind already racing. You've already been stupid enough to ruin everything. Now it's my turn to make sure the truth is clear. I took her phone and locked it. I knew I needed a plan. Something decisive. Something that would ensure she and he couldn't continue their deception. I couldn't let her slip away again. Couldn't let her lie another day. And then it hit me. The ultimate confrontation. Not just with her, but with him. Face to face. Exposing everything. No more secrets. No more lies. Lisa gasped. What are you going to do? You'll see, I said quietly, with a dark edge to my voice. You'll see what happens when lies catch up with you. And this is just the beginning. I spent the night planning, gathering evidence, making sure everything was airtight. If I was going to do this, I had to do it perfectly. No mistakes. No regrets. By morning, I had made my decision. The confrontation would happen tonight. And when it did, neither of them would walk away unscathed. I looked at Lisa, who was still trembling on the couch, and whispered, tonight, you face the storm you created, and I promise, it will change everything. Later that night, I parked outside the apartment where she and Mark had been meeting. My hands were shaking, my heart racing, and I whispered to myself, time to expose everything, and make her regret every single lie. The night was darker than usual, the city lights casting long, sharp shadows across the streets. I parked my car a few blocks away from the apartment building where Lisa and Mark were meeting, my chest tight, my hands gripping the steering wheel. Everything I had planned, every moment I had waited for, led to this night. The storm I had been holding inside for months was ready to break, and I was going to make sure it hit them both. I watched from the shadows as they came out of the building, laughing, holding hands like nothing in the world could touch them. That laugh, the same one that had haunted my dreams for weeks, made my blood boil. My heart thudded in my chest, a mix of anger, betrayal, and anticipation. I followed them quietly, keeping my distance. They didn't notice me, of course. They were too wrapped up in each other, too careless, too arrogant in their deception. And that arrogance would be their downfall. When they stopped outside a small diner, I made my move. I stepped out from the shadows, my presence sudden and unmistakable. Lisa froze immediately, her face going pale as she realized who it was. Mark, on the other hand, turned, confused, until his eyes landed on me. Then recognition hit. Michael? Mark stammered, trying to keep his tone casual. But it was clear he was nervous. I didn't answer. I simply walked toward them, my eyes locked on Lisa, the woman I had loved, the woman who had destroyed my life, the woman who had lied for months. She looked like a ghost, trembling, unable to meet my gaze. Lisa, I said quietly, each word deliberate sharp. Do you really think you could hide this from me forever? Her lips trembled, and she opened her mouth, then closed it. I can explain, she whispered. Explain? I laughed bitterly. You've had 3 months to explain, but instead, you chose lies. Secret meetings, kisses behind my back, all of it. And now, you stand here and think words can fix this. Mark tried to step forward, but I raised a hand, stopping him. Stay back, I said, my voice low and dangerous. This is between us. Lisa fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. I didn't mean to. I love you. I made a mistake. A mistake? I echoed, disbelief and fury boiling over. This wasn't a mistake, Lisa. This was a choice. A conscious, deliberate choice to betray me, to betray our marriage. Do you understand what you've done? She nodded, crying, shaking. But I could see it, the fear, the guilt, the realization that this wasn't just a game anymore. I turned my gaze to Mark, who still looked stunned. And you, I said, my voice sharp as a knife. You think you can come between a marriage and get away with it? Mark opened his mouth, then closed it. I could see the arrogance leave his face, replaced by fear. I didn't know. You didn't know? I snapped. You didn't know what it meant to break someone's life, to destroy a marriage, to betray trust? I pulled out my phone and showed them the evidence I had collected over the past weeks. Texts, photos, timestamps, everything. Mark's face went pale as he realized the web of lies he had become part of. Lisa couldn't look at me. Her shame was written on every line of her face. This, I said, holding up the phone, is everything. Every lie, every secret, every stolen moment. You think I wouldn't find out? You think I wouldn't see it all? Lisa's sobs turned into quiet, defeated whimpers. Mark remained silent, knowing there was nothing he could say that would lessen the impact. I loved you, Lisa, I said, my voice breaking slightly, though I fought to keep control. I trusted you. I believed in us. And you threw it all away for him. For nothing. For a fleeting moment of attention and thrill. She looked up at me, eyes wide with desperation. Please, Michael. I'm sorry. I'll do anything to fix this. Anything. You don't get to fix this with words, I said coldly. You don't get a second chance just because you're sorry. You get consequences. You get the truth. And you face it now. I turned to Mark. And you. You stay out of my life. You disappear, or this evidence goes public. You'll have your own regrets to face if you don't. Mark swallowed hard. I understand. Lisa looked at me, tears streaming, her voice trembling. Please don't leave me. I love you. I made a mistake, yes. But we can fix it. We can. I shook my head slowly. No, Lisa. Love isn't just words. It's trust, respect, honesty. You destroyed all of that. And now, you have to live with what you've done. She fell to the ground, sobbing uncontrollably. The sight of her shattered, finally facing the weight of her betrayal, was surreal. Part of me wanted to scream, to cry, to collapse from the pain. But another part of me felt a dark sense of justice, a cold satisfaction that she was finally seeing reality. I want you to leave, I said again, this time with finality. Tonight. Pack your things. Go. And don't come back until you've truly faced the consequences of your choices. She didn't resist. She didn't argue. She simply nodded, defeated, and left. Mark followed, avoiding my eyes, knowing his presence had only fueled the destruction. I stayed behind, standing in the empty diner parking lot, the city lights reflecting off the wet pavement. I felt a strange 1009 of relief and emptiness. The confrontation was over, but the aftermath, the broken trust, the shattered marriage was mine to bear. As I drove home, I thought about everything that had happened. The lies, the betrayals, the heartbreak. It all felt like a nightmare I had finally woken up from. But even in the pain, I felt something else. A sense of empowerment. I had faced the storm, confronted the truth, and refused to let deceit win. When I reached home, the house was quiet, too quiet. The absence of her presence was deafening, but I welcomed it. For the first time in months, I felt like I could breathe again, like the weight of betrayal wasn't crushing me entirely. I knew the road ahead would be difficult. Trust, once broken, is hard to rebuild, if it can be rebuilt at all. And whether or not I chose to forgive her one day, one thing was certain. I had survived the storm she created. I had faced the truth, and I had taken control. As I sat alone that night, staring at the ceiling, I realized something important. Betrayal hurts, heartbreak consumes, but facing the truth, no matter how devastating, is what ultimately sets you free. And in that freedom, I found a small glimmer of hope, a reminder that no matter how dark the storm, the sun eventually rises again. I picked up my phone and sent a single message to her. The storm has passed. Now face the consequences of your lies. And somewhere deep inside, I knew that this was only the beginning of a new chapter, one where betrayal would no longer control me, and the truth finally had the final word.